and welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts, and what I'm going to be doing today is this Dreamcatcher mould. Now I've been asked by a few people how to not only fill it but also put it together afterwards. So what I'm going to show you is the full process of making it and putting it together. Now the shape of this mould is quite long, so and each one of these bits is quite shallow, so what you need to make sure is that wherever you're going to leave this to cure, that it's level, because if you have it up slightly at one end, then all the resin will run down and make a block. Especially this part, which is quite shallow, will not have the effect that you're looking for, and it will have probably pits and bits in it. So that's just a warning to start with on this mould. Now what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a mixture of mica powder and translucent pigments on this, and I'm going to brush the mica powder on, and then I'm also going to fill the rest of it in with translucent pigment. Now before I brush mica powder on, what I always do is I always give a spray with mould release, because I find that it helps not only for the mica powder to stick to the mould, but I also find that it helps to allow everything, of course, to be removed from the mould. You don't need to wait any period of time after using the mould release. All you need to do is really paint directly on top of that. And what I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using my very soft makeup brushes to paint this mica powder onto the mould, and then it won't scratch or do any damage to the mould at all. So all you need to do when you're using mica powder and brushing it on is choose your colours. Now I'm just going to do a lot of random different colours, always quite bright as I like to. Get some in your brush, okay, and then gently brush it on. Try not to flick your bristles about too much, because then you won't flick it everywhere over the mould, although ultimately that is kind of inevitable that that'll happen with me, so I just go with that. I'm not worried about that. So that's the centre bit done, and I'm going to leave these bits here going round. I don't want those covered in mica. I'm going to let that cover in the translucent powder. So the next bit I'm going to do will be these little bobbly bits here. And as you can see, with the mould release on, it does stick really nicely to the actual mould, and it does kind of tend to stay there. Although you will need to tap it out gently before you fill it with any resin, because that way it gets rid of any bits that are likely to float and contaminate any of the resin. That's if you're not worried. If you're worried about that. If you're not, then you don't need to worry about tapping it. And when I mean tap gently, I'll quickly show you now. That's how gently I tap it. I haven't got a gentle bone in my body. So I'm quite happy with that there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do each one of these little knobbly bits as well, going round. Do a ring of those. And then I'm just going to do the outer ring of this one in that same colour there, which is a yellow. So there we go. And if you want to tidy this up, or if you've got any bits over where you don't want them, all you need to do is take a baby wipe. And what I do is I wrap a little stick around the end of the baby wipe, and you can just go in and remove any bits or just tidy it up, and that'll make a difference. And you can do that as much as you like. If you don't want to do it, then it's absolutely fine. This is your piece. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish off the rest. I'm going to do them very similar methods that I used there. Some I might do two-tone, some I might not, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I've finished putting all the mica powder in. I've got my resin all mixed up now, and I'm using Resin Colours Art Resin because it's a nice thick resin and it's not going to dislodge any of the mica powder that I've brushed on. I'm popping in my translucent pigment here. You don't need too much because you want it to stay nice and translucent, and I'm giving that a really good stir in slowly so as to avoid any extra bubbles, and then I'll just pour that on top of the mica powder and just move it around. I'd just like to say thank you very much to all my members of my channel. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to keep doing this channel. I really do appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying all the additional perks. If you'd like to become a member, then the link to become a member is in the description below. So I'm using what's left over to do the butterfly because that's not going to affect how that finishes, and I really don't want to waste that coloured resin. If you'd like to buy me a coffee just to say thank you for all my videos and help support this channel and get your name on next month's coffee board and all my videos, then the link to that is in the description. It really does help me keep going, thank you. So I'm now just finishing off, filling up the rest of the mould, ensuring that I'm trying not to overpour because of the tendency for it to flood, and then I'll leave it for 24 hours. The sun catcher is all nicely cured now. So all I need to do now, oh, it has a little bit there, but that's not a problem because what I can do is I can remove that quite easily. Can you see what I mean by this mould here? And I love the way that it's come out, the translucent effect, and using the mica powder like that. It just gives it that bit more feeling of being mystical. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how the feathers have come out. Oh, and it did spill over. That is the only trouble with this mould. So I will tidy those up. So that's all the bits done. Now, how I'm going to tidy those up is I'm going to use two tools. One I'm sure everybody has got, and that's just a pair of scissors. And I'm just going to cut off all the bits that have stuck to each other. And it's quite an easy thing to do, and it won't damage your final piece. So I think that's all the bits that are stuck together. And then what I'm going to use is I'm going to use this fabulous deburring tool, which just is sharp enough and moves nicely enough to get all the little bits off that you don't actually want, and it really does a great job. I will link this in the description below for anybody that wants to get one, and when you get one it comes with 10 spare blades, and it is easy. It just takes a little bit of practice, not much, and you can take some really nice fine bits off here to get it done. And it kind of doesn't leave a dull edge either, which is really useful. So certainly on the round bit, try not to take off all of it in one go. Do 2 or 3 passes with it, and then you get a much neater finish. And you see what I mean by it not giving a really dull finish, which can happen when you use a knife or a pair of scissors. So I'm going to just go round and I'm going to tidy those up, and then I'm going to show you how I will put this together. So I've decided that this is how I want the Dreamcatcher to look once I've finished. So it's going to be fairly easy. So I need to connect this to this, these to this, and these to each other. So what I'm going to be using to do that is I'm going to be using some jump rings, and I'm also going to be using some cord. I will drill the little holes using my Dremel and to be able to put it all together. Now the other little bits, I don't need them because I think they'll be over embellishing. So what I'm going to use to connect these up with is this necklace cord that I get, and I always put the link to these in the description below, but these are obviously too long. I don't want them to be that long. So all I have to do is I just pull the cord out, and it gives you a nice little end, and then I keep the little end that I've just pulled off, take the bits off them, and there's the little end, and I just open that up again using my pliers, and then what I'll do is I will cut the ends that I've got here down to size and then pop that back on, and I'll show you how I do that once I've gone through and got these all ready. So it's really easy to do these. All you need to do is make a decision on the size that you want. Now, I'm not going to put one here because I'm actually going to have a little bit of chain going there, but I am going to put one here because that's where I want it to hang from. And I want it to be about that long. So all I need to do is just cut my piece of cord, get my little clip that I had taken off the other end, bend over one side, nip it down, turn it around, and bend over the other side. And that should be on there nice and firm. And if you've got any little frayed bits that are sticking out, you can either trim them off or leave them. That'll be on there nice and tight now. And that one's going from there to hang it up. And I've made these ones. And again, I'm just going to use a little bit of chain on these ones. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to drill my holes using my Dremel of roughly where I want these to sit. Now, I'm going to get these to sit here. So I'm just going to mark up where I want that little hole. And I'm just going to use a pen just to mark up where I want the hole to be on those. So that's where I shall drill those holes, and I shall drill these ones about there. and then I'll go ahead and drill them. And Dremels are, I think, one of the best things to have in your studio. They are so useful. Honestly, I couldn't be without my Dremel. So I've got most of my bits on now, and all I need to do is pop my pieces on here by threading my, if I can keep hold of them, by threading my jump rings through, tightening them up, and then popping them in the other end. So that's one. And I'll do the same for this side, and I'll do the same for this one and this one. And then I'll come back to you and show you what it looks like all finished. But it's really easy, just a few jump rings, bits of leather, cord, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Again, just pop that in there like so. That on there once you've decided where it's going to go. Okay, so I'll finish this off and then I'll show you what it looks like in a second. So there we go, it's all finished now and it should just hang up really easily. There we are, one nicely finished Dreamcatcher. Thank you very much for watching, hope you've enjoyed this, hope you found this really useful. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and check out the video that's coming up next. If you'd like to buy me a coffee just to say thank you for all my videos, then the link is in the description. Take care, bye.